What's going on, guys? Welcome back to your Lake Fork Guide. It's time for the Berkley Big Bass Hourly Tournament out here in Lake Fork, Texas. Hey, when the Berkley comes to town, there's two things that you got to figure out. Number one is you got to figure out what those fish are doing out on the Goat Lake. We are going to break that down and give you guys a preview of that on Wednesday's video. But the other factor that you have to figure out is what Berkley baits are you going to use. So today, we're here at the scene, the host site, Lake Fork Marina, biggest Berkley selection you'll find anywhere. And we're going to give you guys a buyer's guide for the Berkley Big Bass Tournament. So if you're coming to participate in the Berkley Big Bass event, then you're going to well know this, but you're only allowed to use Berkley or Pure Fishing products during this event. It is a bait brand specific tournament, kind of a unique deal. It's a really fun tournament. Bass Champs puts it on. If you don't know, if you've been hiding under a rock somewhere, Bass Champs puts on as good of a tournament as anybody does for the weekend angler team tournament type of trails. Bass Champs does it up right. Big shout out to Chad Potts and the guys over there. They do such a great job. But you can only use Berkley baits. Lake Fork Marina is the host site, and they've done their due diligence. They have more Berkley products in this store than I think anywhere on earth does. I think maybe the Berkley headquarters might have a couple more, but they might even have more than the Berkley headquarters has. It's crazy how many Berkley baits they have. So today what I'm going to do is walk you through the store, show you guys my personal picks for the patterns that have been going on Lake Fork right now, the baits that I would choose to use going into this event. What's going on, guys? Billy Lawson from Your Lake Fork Guide, and I'm so excited to finally announce that the LGB line of rods is finally ready to sell. It's here. We've got all the decals. We've got them all ready to go. Hey, you're going to get a pure American-made blank. These rods are put together right here at Lake Fork. Blanks built in America, top of the line components and guides throughout. Woven carbon fiber handles are our standard option. We also have custom option available for a different price with cork, as well as EVA foam options for any of our rod models that we carry. Along with that, on the custom option, you can also customize the color of your wraps on your guides and down here at the base of your rod, so you can get a little custom color in there if you'd like to. But the bottom line, guys, is I have been through the rods over the years. I've been on 3 different rod pro staffs. The last one that I was on a pro staff with had many different lines of rods, and I fished every one of them, and I found little things that I don't want in a rod and little things that I do want a rod, as well as big important things as well. What I can tell you about this rod, American made blanks, super light, super strong, great components. One of the details I'm really proud of that just annoyed me on almost every rod I've ever used, the hook keeper would sit off of the rod and your line would get wrapped in there sometimes when you cast. Well, if you look at our hook keeper, that line ain't going in there, bud. Like, you're not gonna have that problem anymore. Just one of those little things, and there's all kinds of little details that have been put into these rods. Won't bore you with them right now. Go check them out at yourlakeforkguide.com. You can also find them in person at Lake Fork Marina at the tackle store. So go check them out and get yourself one. And hey, the LGB rods, let's go bassing. Let's go, Brandon. Listen, you know what we're saying though. So right as you walk in the front door, the first thing you're gonna see is this big staircase here. And if you look right to your right as you walk in, you'll see a giant section, a huge wall of Berkley baits. And one of the first bait, well, the first bait that I want to tell you guys about today, it's a little bit of a unique one. It's kind of something I've been a little secretive about with this little dude right here. Haven't really talked about it much. We have talked about small spinnerbaits, and what I'm throwing here is a 1/4 ounce sand tone spinnerbait, and then I'm putting a small swim bait on the back of it. Now, the good news is, from my understanding, in years past, you can use other companies' hardware, but the plastic, the skirt, anything that you use to dress it has to be a Berkley product. So I believe you can use other brand spinnerbaits, but this would be the swim bait from Berkley that I would grab right here. It looks like the little Kitex. It's actually called a Berkley Power Swimmer, but it's a little 3.5 inch version of one. That's very, very similar to what I'm using here. Hey, that is going to be the thing that I'm getting the most bites on. I'm getting a ton of numbers bites. Now, the majority of the fish that are biting this are smaller fish, but in a Lake Fork tournament with the slot limit, you guys know those 15 to 16 inch fish can be money. That's money, dude, if you know what I mean. So that little job right there, taking the skirt off a spinnerbait, putting a small little 3.5 inch swim bait on a 1/4 ounce head with a very small willow blade, that's the key. And if you find out throughout the rules that you cannot use a sand tone spinnerbait, they have a great selection of Berkley spinnerbaits right here right here. Now I noticed they didn't have a 1/4 ounce, but they've got some 1/2 ounce with pretty small heads. Here's one with some willow blades, and you can always change out the blades and downsize them yourself. And then those swim baits that I was talking about are right behind them in this corner here at Lake Fork Marina. That's going to lead me to my next bait. We'll set this down right here. As we make our way into this corner right here, this is where most of the Berkley tournaments on Lake Fork have been won over the years. This is the power worm section, man. The old Berkley power worm has probably won more of these events than everything else combined when you have to throw Berkley only worms. And the reason that is every October, the fish on Lake Fork will bite an old school Texas rigged ribbon tail worm. There's not much better style or color than a Berkley 7-inch blue fleck power worm. That bait right there has won a ton of money out here over the years. It's caught a bunch of fish in my boat over the years this time of year, but the bait that probably actually catches the winning fish in the Berkley tournament is going to be the Berkley 10-inch or 12-inch power worm in blue fleck as well. Red shad is another color that I like to throw a lot this time of year. Of course, you can see right there, red shad Berkley 10-inch worm. That's another one that I would throw. There's the 7-inch version right here. But for you guys that are old school fishermen and you like to fish a little slower, especially in a tournament like this, when lake's gonna be really crowded and you really need to slow down and pick an area apart to get bites, that would be my first recommendation, a 1/4 ounce Texas rig with a Berkley power worm. And right next to the power worm section is my next bait recommendation. So this corner right here, we might as well call this money corner, because this is where a lot of money is going to get made in the Berkley. It's going to be in this corner right here by decisions on tackle purchases. You know, wasn't too long ago, Berkley didn't really have a whole lot of really good baits. I mean, they had, in my opinion anyway, but now they have really widened their line, and some of their baits are really good. They have a Cinco style bait called the Berkley General now that is very, very good. Berkley General, that's a, what's that called? Ike's. They all got weird names. Ike's Green Pumpkin Blue Flash. That's just a green and blue one, kind of like a blue swirl is what a lot of companies have called that color over the years. There's another color down here that I've really grown to love on Lake Fork, and it is Ike's Magic. And it's kind of a dark watermelon red, but it's got like a blue sheen all the way around it. It's a weird color, but the Lake Fork bass really seem to like it. But this new Berkley General stick bait, like a Cinco, it works really well. If you're gonna wacky rig a plastic right now, a lot of times we wacky rig trick worm or finesse worm style baits. Right now the fish can be really on the Cinco style baits a lot better, and it's another good way to get a lot of numbers of smaller bites and catch those good tournament unders out here is wacky rigging these Cinco style baits. We've now made our way to the other side of the store. We're kind of in the back left corner, one aisle over in the back of the store here. And this is our jig section for Berkley. A lot of jigs out here. There's going to be jigs out under the tent when you guys get here as well. You can find a wide variety of jigs. Like I said, a few years ago, Berkley didn't have all this stuff. They didn't have a selection of jigs anywhere like this. They've got several different head designs and plentiful skirt combination colors. If you want me to recommend one to you, let's see what they're calling this, because this is kind of like a brown and amber colored. If I can find the color on here. Black, brown, and amber. They call it the same thing everybody else does on that one. So that's a 3/8 ounce black, brown, and amber. You could also go green pumpkin. Anything green pumpkin or brown or even green and orange would work really well this time of year. There's a lot of young of the year crawfish that are just starting to come out of their shells or molting their baby shells and growing their new shells, and they're like little protein packed morsels for bass. And so these smaller jigs and smaller profile jigs can catch you a lot of good fish, catch a lot of big fish. And everybody knows a jig is a way to catch a big fish on Lake Fork. It always has been for years, and it is throughout the year, almost any time. So get you a jig, and Berkley has a wide variety of trailers to use to help you jig get more bites. Several different style of jig trailers. Probably the one I would prefer this time of year over any other would be the Berkley Pit Boss. That's green pumpkin. You can, again, just like the jig, anything between green and brown is going to work. I saw one up here that was green pumpkin purple flake. That could work really well. Anything green pumpkin or pumpkin seed, brownish greenish color should work. But the Pit Boss would be my preferred jig trailer. But there's also several other styles of jig trailers. Just to let you guys know, I got one version of a crawl right here. I got two versions of a crawl right here. I got a third version of a crawl right here. I've got a fourth version of a crawl right here. And this is back in that corner. The power worms and Cincos are right here. Those little swim baits and spinner baits were right here. And the jig trailers are all kind of right here on this rack on both sides. So you can find all your crawl baits right there. Let's continue to talk about how to catch these bigger fish, these slot fish, and potentially, maybe, catching over. Let's give you a couple more ways to do that. So another bait that's come out recently for Berkley, this is actually new to this year, is a bait they call the slobber knocker. Great name, funny name, catchy name, but what it is, it's a chatterbait, guys. It's a chatterbait, and Berkley's come out with their version. It seems like a really good one. The blade looks like it does contact the head, and that's such a big deal when it comes to chatterbait fishing. And Lake Fork Marina has outdone themselves with their selection. If you'll take a look on the floor here, they haven't even got them on the racks yet. These are new baits, but all these baskets that are on the floor, even coming on down this aisle, man, these are all slobber knocker chatterbaits as far as the eye can see to some degree. Now, from my understanding, they're going to put those up on these kind of peg, whatever these things are called. They're going to peg them up and display them out in the tents for the tournament. But if you're coming before the tournament, just come to the very back left corner of the tackle store. Here they are right on the floor. You can sort through those buckets, find the colors and sizes that you like, and you can do some chatterbait fishing. I personally have not been catching a whole lot of fish on the chatterbait out here lately, but we're getting to that time of year where that bait comes into play more and more and more day in, day out. So it could be a bait that's effective during this event. And now we found ourselves to the Berkley hard bait section. Again, a lot of these baits, I keep saying this, but it blows me away, the selection and the quality of the selection of baits that Berkley now offers. As you can see, a wide selection of hard baits. We got jerkbaits starting right here, topwaters and crankbaits, goes all the way down the aisle here, and even have these buckets down here on the bottom with some new baits and extra baits and stuff like that. And one of the bait that I found in that bucket right there is a bait that's been a good one here lately. And this is going to be called the Cane Walker from Berkley right here. I'm not real good at remembering their names. This is the Cane Walker. We actually saw John Cox back in the Bassmaster Elite Series back in May catching a lot of good fish around the dam on this Cane Walker. Guess what you can do right now? You can catch good fish around the dam and a lot of shallow main lake points, pond dams, things like that. You can still get a good topwater bite on that walking topwater that Berkley makes, known as a Cane Walker. Now, I will say that bite has begun to become inconsistent. So some days you catch them on that, some days you don't. It's not as consistent as it was at the end of summer, in the earlier part of fall. Now, as we start to progress more and more in the fall, it seems like that bite is a little more hit or miss. So I might try this some, but I wouldn't get married to it. I wouldn't dedicate myself to doing that all morning or anything like that. Be careful. Don't get caught chasing this on a day where they're just not biting it. That can happen to you. All right, last couple baits here. Where's my winders at? You guys that just like to turn that reel handle, man, you don't want to throw that wacky worm. You don't even want to throw that jig, and you dang sure don't want to throw that worm and sit there and soak it. You want to cover some water, chunk and wind, and that's how you like to fish. That's how you're confident. Hey, we got you covered. Right now on Lake Fork, you can catch them two different ways for my winders. Number one, and the most prevalent, is going to be a lipless crankbait. I like the 1/4 ounce version right now. You can throw a 3/8 or 1/2 ounce version. This is a Berkley War Pig 1/4 ounce in a shad pattern. One thing about all your winding baits, just like the spinnerbait you saw earlier, it's really about replicating shad. And this time of year, a lot of the fish are eating smaller bait fish, especially if you want to target those tournament unders on Lake Fork. They're eating big schools of really small bait fish. So you can see how small the profile is on that little 1/4 ounce Berkley War Pig. That's going to be a bait that gets you a lot of bites when you get in the right situation. Hey, and last but certainly not least is going to be the Berkley Stunner. Really good quality jerk bait that Berkley makes. This is a bait that you can catch them on around anything. Suspending timber, shallow points, docks. Man, you can catch fish in a variety of situations on a Berkley Stunner suspending jerk bait on Lake Fork right now. If you guys are into forward-facing sonar and you want to chase one giant, looking at them suspending in timber on your forward-facing sonar, we've all saw what Patrick Walters did in the fall a couple years ago on Lake Fork. There's not a better bait to go targeting forward-facing sonar fish and really try to target a giant than a jerk bait in the fall. Well, there you go, guys. I think I gave you about 7 or so different baits, and I know that's a lot of baits to try and figure out in a 1.5 day tournament or whatever this Berkley tournament is. Hey, but it's going to give you a variety, and if you go in there and see the overwhelming amount of selection in Lake Fork Marina as far as the amount of baits that Berkley offers, and kudos to Berkley, man, great job on their part innovating and coming out with new products and coming out with good quality products over the last few years, and they've really expanded their line. And hopefully today's video will help you kind of dive into some of that and give you less stress about what Berkley baits to spend money on for this kind of oddball one-off niche tournament where you can only fish these Berkley baits. But come out to Lake Fork. It's fall. We're having some good days. Hey, it's not like we're not having tough days. It is fall. It's hit or miss in fall at times, but there are some good fish to be caught out there right now. At times they are schooling on bait, chasing bait really hard, and you can catch big numbers of fish on Lake Fork right now at times. So be sure you guys get out here, enjoy the Berkley event, try out some of these baits. Hopefully that'll help you guys out, and maybe go catch you one that looks like that right there. You know what I mean? Hey, thank you guys so much for watching. As always, we'll see you next time right here on your Lake Fork Guide.